Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of 911 Mythbusters. This time we're going to be taking on the myth that AI is going to be taking over dispatchers. I mean, it's no secret that AI is taking over everything else. It's everywhere. It's writing emails, it's making art, and apparently even knows what you're going to buy before you even buy it. But are they going to take over dispatchers? Are they going to take over all the other jobs? We're going to take a look at that. So, with AI, is a robot going to decide if you're going to get an ambulance? Is ChatGPT going to be dispatching out officers? Well, there's different ways it can be used in 911 and ways that it's already being used. So, first, let's get the myth out of the way. AI is not going to be taking over the place of human dispatchers. In reality, they're using it to help dispatchers out in different ways. Some ways I don't necessarily agree with, and in some ways I can see it actually being super beneficial. So, there's three main ways that it's being used right now: transcription, translation, and triage. So, we'll go over each one of those things. First, we're going to go over transcription. One of the ways that transcription is being used in 911, and what I mean by that is taking notes. When a dispatcher receives a call, they'll be typing out notes as they take the call, whether they're just the call taker or they're the full package, like in a lot of agencies where they're taking the call, dispatching out the appropriate units, and everything at the same time. Some agencies do have call taker positions where they just take the call and take notes, and it gets sent over to a dispatcher to dispatch it out while they're still on the call. Now, imagine if there was an AI to automatically take notes for you. It would take what you're saying on the phone and pick out keywords and automatically type the notes for you. This is the one that I don't necessarily agree with because sometimes I feel like it's either going to go one way or the other. It's not going to pick up everything that you want it to pick up, or it's going to put way too much and it's going to clog up your note taking system and it's going to be too much for the officers to read while they're on the way to a
So
call. This one is kind of either or. I could do without it possibly, but the idea behind it is that it would pick up on keywords like chest pain or gun or interstate and pick up on pertinent words that it would transcribe in the notes for the dispatcher put out over the radio. And it allows the dispatchers to keep their eyes on the map and listening to the caller. But part of the dispatcher, it, it's in the job description to multitask. So if you're not able to listen and type out what you're listening to and what you're saying, I mean, I don't want to be, I'm going to try and be as nice about it as I can. But do we really want you being a dispatcher if you can't multitask to that level at the very least? Because there's a lot of things going on sometimes, and you need to be able to split your tasks and manage them appropriately and do things at the same time. Another way that it's being used, and we're going to talk about triage. So, if you're in the medical field, this is going to be all redundant for you. So, sorry. But in the medical field, triage is used a lot to determine um, for lack of a better word here, seriousness of the injury or illness. So, of course, a heart attack is going to be at the top of that, and then you're going to go down through the list. Like, I'm just going to hand pick some things, but you'd have like heart attack, pneumonia, flu, the sniffles for 3 days. You know what I mean? There's different levels of severity to each illness or injury, and it's triaged in based on priority. And the same is done with fire or police calls, and the fact that someone currently being stabbed is definitely going to come above a loud music call. On fires, a structure fire is definitely going to come over my neighbors burning in their fire pit and it's just making too much smoke. So you have calls that are triaged like that. And the way that AI has been helping this is particularly in medical calls. And we're going to talk about in Copenhagen, Denmark, is where this was put in, tested, and put into place. Human dispatchers can identify cardiac arrest over the phone about 73 to 75% of the time, while AI got an over 90% score. Now, being able to tell for sure a cardiac arrest over the phone is a very difficult thing. Now, when this is a very specific cardiac case that we're talking about. So, in this instance, this AI was able to identify agonal respirations at a 90% rate over the 73 to 75% for EMS. It listens to the background and listens for agonal respirations. Again, for those of you that aren't in the medical field, agonal respirations during a cardiac arrest means that they are essentially pulseless, and agonal respirations are kind of like a snoring type of respiration that a patient will get as they're unconscious from, most of the time, from a cardiac event or some type of serious event. Um, and I think the disconnect here is that a lot of medical dispatchers are not medically trained. When I worked on the ambulance and filled in dispatch, of course, I already had the certifications, already worked on the ambulance. So it was easier for me to pick up some things having worked on the ambulance and hearing it on the phone than it would be for someone that's not medically trained at all. They're trained to read off of a script for medical dispatching. And that's not a knock at anybody. That's just the hard truth that a lot of EMDs or emergency medical dispatchers are not actually trained in field medical stuff, right? Other than like CPR, to be able to teach CPR over the phone and everything. But I think that's kind of also where, the AI is able to get it over 90% of the time, plus background noise and everything. The AI was able to pick up specific sound waves for the agonal respirations. And what it would do is, in Copenhagen, Denmark, where they did this, what it would do is they had it built into the program where it would flash a big message on the screen, cardiac arrest detected, and it would prompt the dispatcher to immediately start CPR instructions. And it was able to get CPR instructions started at least 20 seconds sooner. 20 seconds doesn't sound like a long time, but if you've ever been in an emergency, 20 seconds can feel like 5-10 minutes whenever you're dealing with an emergency situation, which is why, if you're also a 911 operator, you know that a lot of times, 30 seconds can pass on a call that you're receiving, and they're already asking, where's the ambulance? Where's the police? Where's the fire truck? Because to them, a large amount of time has passed when in reality, the, the responders might not have even made it to their vehicle yet. So in instances like this, it probably can be super helpful to save that amount of time. However, I think as with anything AI, you need to look at the cost of it. And is this super intensive to where it's going to take a lot of, not bandwidth? I don't know the proper terminology behind AI stuff because I don't work in AI. But is it going to take so many resources from AI that it's going to actually cause an impact on the environment like so many of these centers are? And is it going to cost a lot for these centers to implement? There's a lot of things you got to look at. Is that 20 seconds saved worth the amount of work you're going to have to put in for the AI to be able to work? Whereas you could have additional trainings with your dispatchers to be able to more accurately catch agonal respirations, or have them turn up the handset volumes to where you can hear it a little bit better in the background. Things like that, I think, could probably be worked on. You could go either way with that. Now, this next one is the one where I feel like it is the best case or best use case for AI, because personally dealing with this has been a pain. So, in Charleston, South Carolina, and Austin, Texas, AI is solving the language gap. Historically, if you spoke a language the dispatcher didn't, they had to call a third party translation service. It could take a minute or more to get a translator on the line. Now, if you don't speak the location's native language, which for most of the U.S. is going to be English, in Texas, a lot of us are bilingual, English and Spanish, because that's just the culture of Texas. It's deeply rooted in Hispanic and Latino culture. So it's a lot of us at least know enough to get us by to ask questions in an emergency situation. And so we don't really have the language gap with the Spanish speaking language as much. However, with the United States being such a melting pot, there are people that come across taking 911 calls that don't speak English or Spanish, and it's some language that I don't know. We do have a translation service that we use that we can transfer to. You can either pick the language that you're wanting, or they have a service that will listen to the language and or they have a language expert that will listen to the language and figure out which language it is and then get you to an operator that speaks that language. The issue with that being, like I stated earlier, is it could take a minute or more. Every time I've had to go to a language line system or a language translation system and transfer it there for a translator, it's taken, at least more than a minute. A lot of times I'm on hold waiting for the next available operator, and most of the time, callers will get frustrated and hang up before you can ever get to that translator because they don't know your language, so they can't understand that you're trying to say, "Hey, I need you to hold on the line. I'm going to get a translator, but you're just going to have to hold on." So there's an AI or new AI powered systems that can translate over 140 languages in near real time. The caller speaks their native language, and the dispatcher sees English text on their screen. The dispatcher can speak their native language, and it'll be translated to the caller in near real time. It gets rid of the middleman in the middle. It gets rid of the human that you're having to wait on hold for, and then determine a language and everything. The AI can automatically detect what language it is and instantly translate it. And that time saved can be absolutely a lifesaver. And that is something that I really think could be applied. Is like I said, it's the best use case that I know of for AI to be able to translate these languages in real time. We've also seen that already as a part of our officers. Our newer Axon body cams have a translation feature. If we were to pay the subscription, a new translation feature that does the same thing. It's an AI powered translation. And if they go out on a call where someone does not speak English, can translate for them. It's a great service that is becoming more and more available and helps people get the help and the reporting that they need effectively. And then there's an additional way AI can be. When we talk replacing a dispatcher, as I've said, it's not going to happen. But this would probably be the closest it would come to actually replacing dispatcher. So this is more of an AI bot program that would handle overflow calls or non-emergency calls. In New Orleans and parts of California, AI is handling the noise calls. Remember the Mythbusters episode we had about 911 having a busy signal or being busy and major call loads? Kind of like that. During a major hurricane or flood, 911 gets thousands of calls for fallen trees or power outages, calls that don't need a siren or immediate vehicle response. Agencies are now using AI IVR, or interactive voice response, to triage these calls. The AI detects it's a non-life threatening issue. It can route the call to 311 or a city utility line, keeping the 911 lines open for people who are actually in major harm or things that they need a unit immediately for. It's basically a digital bouncer for the emergency system. So AI is already in 911 and it's being used in more ways every day. I really don't see it being a threat to my job or other dispatchers' jobs because you can't. It's, I mean, AI is advancing every day, but there's a difference when you have a human on the line and you can tell. I'm not exactly sure how some of these AIs would react to asking for the address to an emergency and immediately getting cussed out. I, yeah, I feel like it would just break the AI's brain, right? So we'll see how it advances, but there, as we've seen, there's some good use cases and there's some bad, and AI is something that we continually need to find good ways to use it, but at the same time, it's something that we need to be very careful of, and something that I think as a society we've rushed into a lot, and it's just something that you you need to be realistic about and take a careful approach. In most technologies in the world, there's ethical ways to approach it and there's non-ethical ways to approach it. Think about nuclear technology. We've seen both ways that nuclear technology can go. It can be used in ethical ways, such as power production, and it can be used in non-ethical ways, such as I'm gonna turn into George Bush for here for a second. Weapons of mass destruction. We can see it go both ways in any technology that we have. And it's something as humans we're never going to be perfect at, and there's always going to be those people that use it in non-ethical ways, but we need to try and do our part as much as we can to use it in ethical ways and be responsible about it. And I feel like I said, some of these cases are really good ways to use AI. All of these AI technologies I've talked about, I will have citations for where they were used and articles you can look up to see where they've been used. You can go ahead and look at those articles. There's some news stations that have posted videos on it before. So I'll throw the citations down in the description so that way you can look at it and get familiar with it. I'm also going to throw in Kari's Law and MLTS requirements. Kari's Law and BAUM'S Act are basically acts and laws for 911 direct dialing and location accuracy. It's something that kind of is going to go hand in hand with AI. I know Rapid SOS has used AI in some interesting ways, and they've gotten locations down dang near exact. I sent an officer to a call for a 911 hang up one evening, and the phone was stamping right in the middle of the railroad tracks. And I was able to get on Rapid SOS, send the officer a picture of my Rapid SOS screen. And it had a little box that's probably a 5 by 5 foot box that it had on the map. And I sent that to the officer, and they were able to find the phone in that exact location, wedged in the railroad tracks. So locations are getting more accurate, and it's a lot of times due to the help of AI and the help of programs like this that can make things super accurate for us and help us out in many different ways. With that, guys, that's going to be that episode. I appreciate you tuning in. I hope that these videos are getting better and I'm bringing you a better quality and a better experience when watching, or that you learn something. As always, remember, if you have to dial 911 to dial up those details, and be safe out there, guys. We'll see you on the next one.